everyone, and welcome to our weekly update. Today I want to do something a little bit different. I want to help us decode some of our emotions as we travel through and track through COVID. And I trust that this is going to be helpful for you to understand why some people are angry, some people are ignoring COVID, thinking that it's not there, others are depressed. And I trust that from God's Word today we will get a handle on where we each at in this journey and give us strength for the journey forward and encourage us. I want to give you 3 announcements. First of all, some feedback on Sunday's service. We restarted in-person service for people who could come. You booked, many of you came. We had 140 odd people come. It was a really good time. For me, the important and special time was seeing people connect once again. And of course, with social distancing, that's a bit different, but that was great to see. And just being together again in that way was important for us and important for our journey going forward. So encourage you to keep booking for services. Our bookings there's still a lot of space for this coming week, so book if you want to come. But I also want you to recognize that as we learn this new way of coming to you live on Sundays, that it's going to be a bit of a journey as we figure out what works, what doesn't work. So sometimes the quality might not seem like it should be, but as we journeyed in the past and got to a level where we felt this was good, we're going to journey a little bit. So please be patient with us and recognize we're all on a journey together as we learn to serve you in this new way. Secondly, there's some training happening tomorrow. This is Thursday, tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And it's a way of helping you share your faith or journey with somebody in their faith, even before they become a Christian. So it's discipling people toward faith and after that. And it's a simple method called Discovery Bible Method. Quite a few of us have been trained in the church in this and are beginning to use it, and really we're finding it productive. So if you have a friend that you're interested in speaking to them about Jesus, or at least sharing your faith in some way, this is so super helpful. Or if you're an older person and you would love to disciple a younger person, perhaps a young adult, or somebody a bit younger than you, it's again a great method to get into a relationship with that person and journey together in the Bible and do that consistently. So that's 2 o'clock tomorrow here at the church. Come along, it'll be in person. Please do let the church know if you want to come to that. Thirdly, a number of you have been asking about baptism. We're planning on having a baptism service in October. This is October the 18th, so after the Sunday service, or perhaps the back end of the service, we'll have a baptism. And for those of you that are thinking about this, wanting to take the words of Jesus seriously, his command where he said, be baptized, believe and be baptized, that you would want to do that. So please contact the church office or go on our website. That's probably the best place, and go to the little tab called Next Steps, and under that there's a baptism form you can fill in. We can get your details, and then we'll contact you about how do we prepare you for that day. It'll be a special day in your journey with Jesus. I'm convinced of that. So I want to give you a handle today on COVID and what we're sensing and feeling in our hearts, and some of what we're seeing going on. And people have begun to recognize and realize that actually we are going through this journey of what's the right word? This journey of loss, of grief. And that COVID has come in, instead of just being an interruption, an unwelcome interruption into our lives, it actually has caused a disruption. And we'll only see the disruption that it's going to cause to our social fabric in perhaps a year, 2, 3 years' time. But we are sensing there's this disruption going on. And so we are going through what we call a grief cycle. And for those of us that have journeyed with others who are going through this, we recognize, and people have recognized, there are various stages you go through. The first one is denial. The second stage is anger. The third stage is bargaining. And the fourth stage is depression. First stage is acceptance. And that's the journey you can see people going through with COVID right now. Some people are denying that it's even there, that this is not happening, that it's not real. And hopefully we can deny it and life will just go back to normal. Others then are in a place of anger where They recognize things have changed around them, and then we don't have a handle on how to control this, and it seems like things are being imposed on us from outside by the government and others, and restrictions, and so there's this sense of loss of control and being vulnerable, and so people respond in anger. Then there's this bargaining. Perhaps I haven't seen too much of that, but what you're trying to do is, bargain with people to try and get a better outcome. We are seeing the fourth one, depression. And depression is often shown in not only your mental state, but in what you eat. And some people would say, well, I'm on a COVID diet, I'm putting on weight. And that's true. And some of the way we handle this is we eat more, we feel down. And so you may be at that stage. But there is a fifth stage called acceptance. All of us are on this journey, and we're at different points. And we may be at different points in different parts of our lives. But I think it's important to realize that we're in a social grief stage where the entire world is in this process together. And we're all at different places. And when we go through this journey, the advice we give and receive during this time of grief is a few simple practical tips. And I want to share those with you, perhaps today, and also some advice from the Bible. So firstly, we would say to people is keep doing the things you know to be important. For example, if somebody's lost a loved one, keep eating, keep exercising, keep sleeping. Keep those routines up. Keep the important routines up, even though you don't feel like it. We've been encouraging you to join in. So firstly, have your quiet time every day. Secondly, join in with other Christians at least twice a week. Join us online in a group. Join us online as an individual. Book to come to an in-person service. Go to a connect group. So do 2 things a week to connect in with others. That's a routine. And we're encouraging you to find a new routine. And we get that some of you are feeling angry, that why can't we come back and just do the things that we've always done? We get that you're angry. We also would love that to be like that. But we know it's not sustainable. And so, friends, let's show as we get into these new routines, let's learn to practice those. And as we practice those, show some patience with others who are perhaps not in the right routines. The second thing we encourage people to do in this grief cycle is be careful of making life-changing decisions. When one is under pressure like this, the pressure is there to make some big decisions. And be careful of those. When we're in times like these, we don't often think as rationally as we should. Thirdly, give yourself and give others some space and some time, recognizing we're all in this and we're all in a different space, and we need to learn to practice extra grace and extra generosity toward each other. And then fourthly, sometimes we get stuck, and that's when it's helpful for a group of friends around us, friends we trust, to say to us, you've got stuck, it's time to move on. And so being in community with others, in a small group, in your church circle, in your community circle, people you trust, allow them to lean in and say, you're getting stuck here, time to move on. So friends, I trust that recognizing that we're all in a time of grief, as we see this and journey through this dislocation in our social fabric, that it will give you some handles on where you're at and what you're feeling. The Bible comes and gives us additional help. And here in the book of Lamentations is this gem, this gem of advice or help that has been turned into such a beautiful hymn, and you'll recognize the hymn as soon as I read the words. But the time that they were going through here was a terrible time. Jerusalem had been destroyed. Everything they'd known had been taken away from them. The prophet says here in verse 16, he says, God's broken my teeth. That's what it feels like. Verse 17, I've been deprived of peace. I've forgotten what prosperity is. So I say my splendor is gone and all that I hope for from the Lord. I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. I well remember them, and my soul is downcast within me. So you can see he's going through this time of emotional loss and of grief and of depression. And he says this, there's this moment of acceptance. Yet this I will call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. In this time, we need to realize that God has got us, that God's faithfulness is there. He's teaching us new things, that God will use this time to shape us to be more like Jesus if we will trust him, if we will journey with him and not try to fight him in this, but journey with him, allow him to shape Jesus in us, in our responses that are perhaps we're not proud of our responses, to allow the Spirit to speak into that and to shape us to be more like Jesus. Or in spaces where we can encourage others and do that even more, that we do that even more. Allow God's Spirit to work in us as a community as we learn to journey together and know that great is his faithfulness. He hasn't let us go. This is not taking him by surprise. We're on a journey with him. He's going to do something through this. May God's grace go with you. May God's peace go with you. That simply is my prayer. And may you know his blessing. May his face look toward you and give you peace. Goodbye, and we'll see you next week.